And now for this evening's poetry hour, please welcome the Silicon Fox.
The modern world, a prison of pixels, a desert of dead batteries. You leave your house, device in hand, 100% charge, a full soul. By noon, 50%, a slow decay, the energy of existence just slipping through your fingers. The sun sets, and so does your power, 10%, a lowly ember, fading fast. Cruel mistress, the red battery icon, a digital death knell, an SOS to the universe. You scramble, you beg, you search, but the outlets, they mock you. The cables, they betray you. But wait, salvation. I knew my savior. Yes, the P41L power bank, not just a battery, a revolution. High-speed charging, USB-C, 2 ports for the lovers of electrons. 20,000 milliamp hours, an ocean of power and a sea of despair. And you dig? A flashlight to illuminate the path to the lost. It's thin, it's sleek, it fits in your pocket, unlike the burdens of modern existence. My phone, my tablet, my weary soul, all enveloped in its warm embrace. So heed my word, fellow travelers. Do not fade into the abyss. Grip life, grip power, grip I knew P41L, and never go powerless again.
Today is a very special day, you guys. It's very rare when someone my size gets to be the first to cover something new in tech. There aren't too many of the old frontiers left in the PC hardware space. Either almost everything interesting has been documented already, or we learn about new stuff years before it's even released. Needless to say, it feels like a lot of the mystery and wonder has been lost in this space. I can't tell you how many times I go out searching for a piece of hardware to look at, and then I discover it's been covered by like 5 million people already. But not today. Oh no, I've got something special that no one has ever seen before. That's right. Today I'm introducing the MiniMaker Silent Mini Soft PC. The name is a work in progress, I'm sure. But name aside, we have so much to cover with this computer. So without further delay, let's jump into the most pressing question. Who the heck even is MiniMaker? MiniMaker is a name that up until CES, none of us had ever heard of before. And that's because they're a brand new Taiwanese ODM, quietly working behind the scenes in the shadows of larger, more established brands. These are the kinds of companies that build devices for other companies to slap their name on. Think of them as the ghost riders of the hardware world. But now, they're stepping into the spotlight with a mini PC of their own, trying to carve out their place in an already crowded and very cutthroat market. And they're not going in alone. MiniMaker is actually a joint venture with Hybridtech. Yeah, a larger ODM known for its all-in-one PCs. Hybridtech has been in the game since 2013, delivering hardware to 58 countries with over 200 global partners. So we're talking about a serious player with the resources to back this launch. The question is, why should we care? Well, this isn't just another no-name AliExpress dropshipper looking to push cheap hardware. MiniMaker is coming in with the backing, the experience, and manufacturing infrastructure of a company that has spent a decade shipping hardware at scale. If they play their cards right, they could become a major new player in the mini PC space, much how like B-Link and Minisform started out as niche brands before breaking to the mainstream. And that's why this prototype is so interesting. It's not just about whether this PC is good or not. It's about what MiniMaker can do differently to stand out. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, let me preface this by saying that this MiniMaker PC is not a retail product. This is a prototype, and I really mean that, straight from CES. And I managed to acquire this after some, shall we say, strategic show floor negotiating. So I want you to keep all that in mind. This is not something you can just hop on Amazon and buy. Well, at least not yet. But if and when it does hit retail shelves, what exactly are we getting? Well, we're getting a supremely small but densely packaged machine. This unit is powered by the i5-12450H, an Alder Lake solution with a 4P plus 4E core configuration, so that's 8 physical cores with 12 threads. I know somebody's going to decry the inclusion of E-cores, but personally, I like them. Especially lower down the CPU stack you go. We don't give Intel enough credit for democratizing low-end multi-core performance. Though what wasn't democratized on this unit was the RAM and storage. I had to add those myself. So I went with 32GB of DDR4 Team Group 3200 mega transfers a second RAM, as well as a 1TB PCIe 3.0 NVMe drive. The company rep at CES also gave me these awesome little drive heatsinks. Trade shows, man, just gotta love the freebies. Then more excitingly is the I/O selection. For what Minimaker positions as a more pedestrian and budget unit, the selection is crazy. In the front, you get two USB 3.2 10GB per second ports, as well as a combo headphone and mic jack. Switching to the back side, there's even more to gush over. You get two HDMI 2.1 ports, one 2.5GB Ethernet port, which is nice. There's another USB 3.2 port, along with one USB 2.0 port. So I recommend plugging all your peripherals into that one. And finally, the stars of the show. You get not one, but two Thunderbolt ports. That's actually kind of crazy because most Thunderbolt devices in this class only include one port, but I am not complaining. I'm also not complaining about the size or weight. The unit is 160mm long, 110mm wide, and 40mm tall. It also weighs 365 grams, which is not only super light for how they packed in this stuff, but it's also very impressive when you realize that they dedicated 33% to the cooling solution. That's 121 grams of the 365 that is the total weight. We'll go over all that in the teardown section, but that's an engineering decision many companies are not making in this device class. That'd be the equivalent of like Honda giving all of their entry-level sedans V6 engines. And while on the topic of under the hood shenanigans, the BIOS here is unfortunately not as open as I'd like. There's hardly any relevant options for tinkering around. You can change the time, the drive boot priority, and other related boot options. There was an option for setting the power mode, which is a great start, but come on, Minimaker, we can do better. Aesthetics wise, I like the design. It's a refreshing departure from the standard black or silver box aesthetic that just dominates the mini PC market right now. Instead of the usual all metal or plastic enclosures, Minimaker has opted for a two-tone design with a fabric texture top panel, giving it this sleek and modern look that feels equally at home in an office setup, a living room entertainment center, or even a minimalist workspace. The soft, neutral color palette helps it blend in seamlessly into a variety of environments, making it a great choice for users who prefer understated tech over something flashy. But this isn't just about looks. Minimaker's design choices reflect a deliberate approach to balancing aesthetics and functionality, something I wish more companies took to heart. The rounded edges and compact footprint make it less obtrusive on a desk, while the perforated side panels ensure adequate airflow without making the device look like a traditional performance machine. That is an important touch, as many mini PCs struggle with thermals due to their confined chassis. The inclusion of strategically placed vents suggests that Minimaker is aware of this issue and has designed this with heat dissipation in mind, rather than just slapping a cooling solution inside and calling it a day. Thoughtful design, guys, you love to see it. The fabric textured surface is an interesting choice as well because it adds a premium touch without feeling like a gimmick. It's not often you see a material like this on mini PCs, but it's something I like to see more manufacturers experiment with. If executed well, it can provide additional dust resistance, reduce the appearance of fingerprints, and even contribute to the slight noise dampening, something that can be critical in ultra-quiet office or media center environments. From a practicality standpoint, the front-facing power button with a contrasting accent color is a small but appreciated touch. It makes the device easy to power on without fumbling around the back for a hidden button, something too many manufacturers overlook in their design choices. The subtle branding on the top panel also keeps things clean without overwhelming the look with aggressive logos or flashy lights. Although, they need to adjust the durability of the lettering on the retail versions. One of mine came off and I have no idea where it ended up. This is the kind of design that tells me Minimaker understands their target audience. They aren't marketing this device as a gaming powerhouse or an enthusiast dream rig. It's meant to be sleek, functional, and efficient workstation for professionals, remote workers, and anyone looking for a premium, reliable, and compact PC with a nice, unobtrusive look. Though that doesn't mean we can't push this unit to its fullest potential. Yeah, let's talk about performance now. Alright, this is where I imagine things won't be overly exciting. A mini PC with an i5-12450H isn't necessarily breaking new ground. I mean, this chip is not new and we've seen it countless times before in various different form factors. In fact, you can go online and get one for yourself. So I'm not gonna come here and play hype man for the platform. I wanna give you an objective overview. So on to synthetic benchmarks. Now I'm not the biggest fan of them, but they do help set some expectations. So I kick things off with Cinebench R24, and here's what I got. For our single core score, we got 89 points. That puts this device 18% faster than the i7 1280p and just 7% behind the Ryzen 7 5800X. So not bad at all for a mid-range mobile chip. Then for multi-core, we got 455 points, a modest 5% lead over the 1280p, but 11% behind Apple's M1. Intel's E-cores are pulling weight here, but Apple's performance per core still edges it out. Absolutely legendary architecture, much respect to the engineers. And while yes, these are decent scores, benchmarks only tell a part of the story. They don't always capture what it's like to actually use a machine day to day. So I put the Mini Maker PC through a variety of real world tasks, some creative, some casual, and some downright frustrating, to see how it holds up as an everyday device. First off, general usability is smooth and snappy. Boot times are quick and apps open without hesitation, and navigating through multiple browser tabs, spreadsheets, and emails feels fluid. Even with 32 GB of RAM, I was expecting some slowdown when juggling multiple tasks, but the Mini Maker held strong. Despite being 11% slower than Apple's M1, we've still got some great per core performance here too. Now, I also wrote part of the script on the Mini Maker while running Discord, YouTube Music, and a dozen Chrome tabs, and it didn't break a sweat. No stutters, no lag, just a solid, responsive experience. Now, I wouldn't call this a dedicated creative workstation, but I was curious to see how well it could handle some entry-level content creation. Video editing? Scrubbing through 1080p footage in Kdenlive was shockingly smooth. Export times weren't instant, but they weren't unbearable either. If you're doing occasional edits for YouTube or quick projects, this thing can get the job done. So photo editing, well, Krita ran fine for basic edits, and thanks to the snappy SSD, loading high resolution images wasn't a chore either. I don't know how something like Lightroom will handle, but I imagine it won't be an abysmal experience either. Now, 3D work and large-scale video editing, that's where this thing starts to show its limits. Unreal Engine viewport performance was passable for light scenes, but complex rendering was slow. It's doable, but you wouldn't want this as your main rig for heavy-duty tasks. I had to turn the scalability way down to get a decent 45 FPS. For the indie devs out there, you might want to stick to something like Godot or Unity on a platform like this. Where the Mini Maker really shines is as a home theater or secondary PC. Streaming 4K video was flawless, whether on YouTube, Netflix, or Plex, which I'm, still learning how to get the ropes on. The silent operation means no annoying fan noise either while watching movies, something I do appreciate. And it handled local media playback like a champ, which is another thing that I really care about. I've got a ton of locally ripped movies, old stuff from the 60s, and you'd be surprised how many iGPUs struggle or drop frames when just playing a local file. All in all, this is a great experience for everyday usage, a real set and forget type of machine. You could get it up and running for a loved one and not have to worry about being on call for hardware issues. Just keep your phone on in case grandma needs help getting to solitaire. And speaking of solitaire, I know what you're thinking. Can it game? And the answer is yes, but let's be real about what this thing was built for. If you're hoping to play Cyberpunk 2077, Pal World, or Ratchet & Clank, this mini PC is not your best bet. Frame rates hovered in the teens to low 20s, and even with settings lowered, performance was, shall we say, not the most enjoyable. Where this mini PC does shine is retro gaming and lighter indie titles. I've got a 2TB USB 3 hard drive filled to the brim with my
legally obtained
ROM collection. With Launchbox, you can create a plug-and-play retro gaming system that will look real nice underneath the entertainment center or in any r/mil living space post. Emulation like GameCube, Dreamcast, even some Switch titles run beautifully with consistent frame rates. 2D and low-poly indie games perform without a hitch as well, making this an excellent compact system for casual gaming. And with dual Thunderbolt ports, Mini Maker is leaving the door open for external GPU setups. I tested an RTX 3060 eGPU, and suddenly, the gaming experience transformed and my options for modern games opened right back up. If Mini Maker expands on this capability in the future iterations, we could be looking at a legitimately modular mini PC platform. Hopefully a higher end model with Thunderbolt 5 or Oculink if we're trying to keep costs reasonable. So what's the final verdict? The i5-12450H is a solid choice for a mini PC, and Mini Maker has optimized the design well, I will say that. While it's not built for high-end gaming, it holds up well for productivity, development tasks, and light creative workloads. The thermal headroom Mini Maker has allowed means that performance remains consistent even under sustained load. With this level of engineering, Mini Maker is making a strong first impression. But wait, there's more. Let's tear this thing down and see what the engineering under the hood looks like. We're finally on to my favorite section. To get inside the Mini Maker, all you have to do is turn the unit over and unscrew 4 screws. They each hold the fabric top in place, and with the top gone, you get immediate access to service all major components. This spread should look familiar to you if you've had dealings with servicing these types of devices before. It's objectively the correct way to do things. As I always say, easy access, easy maintenance. Basically everything you need to either change or upgrade is right there. You've got your memory slots, your 2280 NVMe slot, a 2242M SATA slot, and of course a Wi-Fi slot. Now for 99% of you, this will be enough. But for those who want to, repaste the CPU, how easy is that to access? Well, again, very easy, and this is something more unique to Mini Maker, I will say. You only have to take care of a few more board level screws before the board becomes free for removal. Flipping it over, you can see how substantial this cooling solution is. Like I said earlier, the PC weighs 365 grams, and they dedicated 33.15% of the weight to cooling. That's a significant investment in the performance of, this kind of device in this class. You have to remember that in this sector, 2 heat pipes are kind of rare. Copper is expensive, and it's a prime place where corners get cut on less performant mini PCs. And you know what? Even larger OEMs cut corners there too. My HP Pavilion 14 Plus has a Ryzen 7 7840U processor. That's a 28 watt part, and you know what HP did? They locked it to 15 watts and only gave it 1 heat pipe. Now, thermals are good, and the Zen 4 chip is pretty efficient in light to medium workloads. But I said that to illustrate that cooling solutions are the first places where executives look to pinch pennies. This just tells me that Mini Maker is a company that definitely has an engineer as its current CEO. Seeing Mini Maker keep this cooling solution signals that they're taking the target market serious and aren't here to cut corners and maximize profits where it's detrimental to the user experience. Give us the thermal headroom to push the platform hard and maximize the experience the way that we want as consumers. We bought the darn thing. One of the first things I looked at was the power delivery system, and honestly, I'm impressed. This is not a half-baked low power implementation. Mini Maker has opted for a robust VRM setup. We're looking at a multi-phase design with R10 inductors, MP296 controllers, and NEP capacitors in the power delivery section. This setup suggests that Mini Maker isn't just slapping together a basic low power board, they're giving the CPU room to stretch its legs. Looking at the power stages, the quality of components here rivals what we see in premium embedded designs. That means better efficiency, less heat, and more stability under sustained loads. In a market where some OEMs cut costs and power delivery, Mini Maker is taking the high road, which bodes well for longevity and reliability. As we know, this board is built around the Intel i5-12450H, and Mini Maker is not skimping on the supporting architecture. The FG2410i SEG chip sitting next to the CPU appears to be a PCIe lane switch or high-speed interface controller, which tells me they're ensuring optimal bandwidth allocation. That means we're getting the full speed connectivity without the bottlenecks that some budget designs suffer from. A lot of mini PCs won't even include 2 Thunderbolt ports because of the bandwidth headaches and having to dedicate boardroom to a controller like this. It costs money to do this right, and from my testing, Mini Maker got it correct. Plugging in an eGPU with another high-speed drive does not kill lane performance for either device, the way it should be. The board revision DB51NB V12 suggests we're looking at a relatively fresh iteration. Given that this is an engineering sample, we may see even tighter optimization in the final consumer release. But even at this stage, the component choices reflect a serious approach to thermal and power efficiency. Like I said, I'm not seeing shortcuts being taken here. Speaking of not cutting corners, seeing an ITE IT5700E128 embedded controller tells me that MiniMaker is aiming for a well-rounded firmware experience. This chip typically handles fan control, power sequencing, and security features. If upon release they expose enough options to the BIOS, we could be looking at a fine-grained tuning that enthusiasts would just love. Unfortunately, like I said, my unit is very locked down from a BIOS point of view. A shame, so that's something I'll be passing on to the team for internal review. Like, come on guys, unlock the BIOS. You can add a CMOS reset to clear mistakes and everyone will be happy. Just do it, please. I'll be doing a deep dive into what this EC is controlling later, but from a hardware standpoint, this means you're thinking about usability beyond just raw specs. We might see features like configurable power limits, enhanced sleep states, or even OEM specific optimizations. My favorite. Alright, so here's where I push a bit of a personal agenda. As solid as this design is, I would love to see MiniMaker pushed into the future with LPCAMM2 support. The industry is already moving towards, or is supposed to be moving towards, this new memory form factor, and it could allow for slimmer, more power efficient design with better performance scaling. Yeah, imagine this exact board with LPCAMM2, so lower power draw, higher density, and potentially better thermals. That's a conversation for another time. I'm working on a video about that, and I'm gonna come back to this, trust me. This is a soapbox, or a hill rather, that I'm gonna die on. But I digress. Why does this matter? Really, real talk. The mini PC market is not starved for competition. B-Link, Minisform, GMK, they're all pushing great engineering and they've proven themselves in the space. So why should we care about MiniMaker? Why does this newcomer deserve our attention? Well, honestly, because this is our shot to influence something from the ground up. I want to reiterate something. MiniMaker is not some faceless Alibaba reseller slapping a new badge on generic hardware. They're an emerging ODM, fresh to the client market, trying to carve out their identity, and that gives us, the enthusiasts, a rare opportunity to help shape what that identity becomes. Think about it. When was the last time a mini PC company truly listened to early adopters? By the time a brand is established, they're already locked into their supply chains, their cost-cutting measures, and their design philosophies. But MiniMaker, they're still finding their footing, and that makes them adaptable. Right now, they've already made smart engineering decisions, dual Thunderbolt ports, a robust VRM setup, and a cooling system that takes up a staggering 33% of the total weight. That's not the move of a company that's cutting corners. That's a move of a company that's willing to invest in quality. But what if they went further? My wish list in no particular order: LPCAMM2 memory, a total game changer for mini PCs, replacing bulky SODIMM slots with a smaller, faster, and more power efficient solution. Then something out of left field: modular cooling solutions. Imagine a swappable fan and heatsink configuration to tailor performance to, different workloads. And since I'm still dreaming, how about high-speed UFS storage integration, a potential alternative to traditional SSDs that could allow for ultra-fast boot speeds and lower power draw. They could also, give us open firmware and better BIOS control. Us enthusiasts, we love BIOS level tinkering. Well, at least I do. Yet many mini PC brands lock down their options. If MiniMaker listens, we could push for undervolting controls, better fan curves, and broader memory tuning support. These are the things that the big guys won't prioritize because they're locked to their current market segments. But MiniMaker, they still have room to listen, room to innovate, and room to become the enthusiast brand if we make them see the demand. Okay guys, I'm gonna get a little philosophical, but please bear with me. MiniMaker's entrance into the market is not just another product launch, this is an inflection point. We, the niche hardware community, have the chance to influence an up-and-coming company before they become too big to listen. Like, how often do we get that opportunity? We have seen this before. B-Link and Minisform were once niche brands themselves, but early on, their products were rough around the edges and the community had direct influence on how they evolved. Those who got in early shaped the direction. Now MiniMaker is in this exact same position. If we engage now, if we push for LPCAMM2, better cooling, better BIOS features, and real enthusiast options, we can help steer them into becoming the mini PC brand we actually want rather than another name in the crowd. MiniMaker has the engineering chops, They've got the supply chain. What they need now? A vocal and engaged audience willing to demand better. And that's where we come in. How do we engage, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you did. We're gonna flood their inbox. Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm asking you to write to your local congressman or something, but trust me, this is how change happens in the tech space. The more of us that reach out and ask for these features, the more Minimaker will see that there's real demand and an engaged audience for higher-end enthusiast-friendly mini PCs. So here's the plan. Take 5 minutes, guys, and shoot an email to them. Just do it. Let them know what features you want to see. Ask about LPCAMM 2 support, a more unlocked BIOS, or even eGPU-focused optimizations. If we make enough noise now, we can shape Minimaker's future product lineup. And I've made this super easy for you guys. Down in the description, I've dropped a nice and easy email template for you to use in case you don't want to write something yourself. Just add your name and send it off. Easy peasy, thermal paste squeezy. This is a rare opportunity. Most brands don't listen to the early adopters, but Minimaker is still fresh. They need feedback, and we have the chance to steer them towards making something truly special. So let's make it happen. Hit them up, let them know what we want, and maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to say that we helped shape the next major mini PC brand. If I seem impassioned, it's because I've got a lot of personal stake in this. There are so many changes I want to see in this space, but I know that no company is gonna listen to me, or well, anyone now that they're massive. This feels like a once in a lifetime opportunity to stake my name in the footnotes of computing history. 30 years from now, we're all gonna look back and say, yeah, hey, you know, that Silicon Fox guy wasn't too crazy after all. He pushed LPCAMM 2 and made mini PC super cool. And you know what? Who am I kidding? 30 years from now, I'll probably still be in this room ranting about the industry dragging their feet on common sense engineering decisions. But at least I'll be doing it with all of you here. That's it for this one, everyone. I am the Silicon Fox, and I thank you so much for watching. Until next time, everyone, ciao.